Hi. So guys, we're back here with welcome to Mostly Noob. I'm here with Mostly Dad, and we're here 40 years in the future.
Yeah, how about that?
That seems like a while ago. So today, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about passage of time and maybe the morality of time.
Just time in general.
Who's this?
It's me. I'm the baby of the group.
What the hell?
Which is a weird statement to have said out loud, to be honest.
It is.
3 generations.
It is.
Yeah.
This is my
Talk
grandpa. Say hello. I don't think anyone
This is
here.
my dad.
Batch is here, yeah.
They can't hear you.
There's not many here.
Oh, that's all right.
It takes a while to start up, but that's one of the beauties about podcasts. Who gives a fuck who's watching?
Yeah.
As we go along, we
We'll
discuss
see what
generations
happens.
of
What
mostly, yeah.
what generates along. So we didn't have a topic initially thought of today, but we're thinking about the difference in time, or the passage of time, or the things that have changed.
Oh, because I was thinking about this with you the other day. We were talking about how you remember before colour and TVs and stuff.
Yeah.
What do you remember, Grandpa?
Remember?
Yeah.
I can remember black and white. I can remember when TV started lately. Yeah.
So you would have radio before that.
Yeah, well, we used to have lots of radio and shows on radio, popular.
Because that was the mainstream of entertainment at the time, wasn't it? Just sitting listening to the radio, wasn't it?
Well, there's not many other things to do.
So what did
They
you
had-
do?
They had interesting things they still had quiz shows and that, and they had a couple of real stars. A bloke called Jack Davey, he ran a whole lot of those things, and then other things with Bob Dyer. Yeah, that's going back a bit.
Yeah, I have no idea who these people
I
are.
remember the names. What year are you talking? We thinking of?
Probably say 48, 49.
So just after
50, yeah, just after the war, and TV came in what was the Olympic Games here?
the war.
That
56.
was 56, so that was the real genuine start of TV, black and white. But
Oh, yeah, obviously, yeah.
Now, I mean, it's interesting because when you talk about things like that, like post-war era and even the war, because you grew up during the war,
yeah,
it feels like I have no concept, and it must be similar to you. Like when I talk about things in the 80s.
yeah.
80s a little bit. That's on the end of I still can appreciate that culture. I know where it's from. Much younger than that. It's not baffling, but it's just might as well just read it in a book. There's no actual emotional relationship to that time.
So there's an interesting concept because with Dad talking there was only radio. We didn't have internet. We didn't have podcasts. We didn't
Lucky to have a telephone.
I'm
I'm joking.
I know. Yeah. So no, instant communication. So
Yeah.
we sort of have this divide. It's almost the history prior to technology is almost just books and people like that.
Yeah, books. Well, you've got to remember, those times when I was youngish, there were only 10 million people in Australia, maybe
shit.
12. Now there's double that, man, 24 million people.
Probably a bit more even than that now.
Yeah,
Well,
So-
like rabbits, we don't stop, do we?
No.
So
Well,
10 million, it's not a lot,
No.
and populations would have been centred around cities like Melbourne.
Yeah, well, country people, a lot of people lived in the country. More people lived in the country and were farming in those days.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I imagine you wouldn't have had the technology like mass-produced farms have now.
No. Well, say telephones. Country people had telephones, but they were multiple family lines. In other words, if you had 10 or 12 people on a common line,
Oh, so you ring a number and you...
different rings,
Yeah, okay.
Jeez.
then you listened in.
Yeah.
Who's like, what's going? Yeah, that's a bit like Facebook, isn't it? I guess. See
Well-
what's going on, and we'll pick up the phone and listen.
Well, the thing is, and this is something I find interesting, back in those days, it's not recorded.
no.
All that history, it's it comes and goes. Now that the internet and information age is so prominent, everything is like recorded somewhere. Like
Yeah.
even old websites, like we have access to old stuff.
Yeah.
Like at least in my generation.
Yeah, and even as a little bit after mine too, because you had a lot of video recordings where you look back at things.
You're right.
Yeah.
Need a water?
No.
No, he has a persistent cough, which is
Yeah. 30 years worth of
30
coffee.
years worth of coughing.
Well, they had records. I can remember tape recordings and wire recordings coming along.
Yeah, okay.
Would
yeah.
you like record radio shows to listen to later, or is that just not a?
We didn't have anything to record them on.
Yeah.
So that's more for like big studios and things.
Say, a lot of the shows that were on TV and serials, they were recorded directly on a wax disc. People used to stand around the microphone, script in hand, and then the man over here with the opening and shutting the door, squeak door.
The technology of the time.
Yeah,
And it was
very hands-on.
a wax disc cut there, and then things like music and that were on 78s.
Oh, yeah.
After that came
45.
the vinyl and 45.
That's right. This is record players, so you're
Yeah.
talking about
Yeah,
the speed of a disc
on
record.
a thing. And that was, common people would go out and buy the disc, or they heard it, a whole 3 minutes on a 78.
So you threw one song.
Yeah, one song.
So much for like podcast, like your Apple iPods and things.
Yeah.
The thousands.
What do you think of the technology today, like compared to what it was? Like, is it better, worse? Is it a nuisance to learn, or
Is humanity better for it?
The technology there was minimal technology back in when I was 18, 17, even younger, or during the war. There was none.
we're talking about computer technology, are we?
Well, computer technology, I'm old enough to remember getting an imp at work. I had a whole 8 bits memory, right?
Yeah.
A small computer,
Okay.
and it was 8 bits driving that. And when they got to 1,000 bits on there, how marvellous!
I think my watch has more than that these days.
My
Yeah.
watch has.
Yeah.
But my view is that apart from the wheel and fire, I reckon that whoever invented, well, I know who invented them, transistors have really changed the world
Oh yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, we opened up the gateway to our computer technology, because like beforehand it was like using vacuum tubes or like mechanical switches,
I was
which
talking
are
about
like
that today.
actually mechanical process. This is all just a solid process.
Well, I'm old enough because I worked in the electronic industry, and valves were the thing. Like I can remember valves, quite large valves and things, and radios with valves. That was the thing, and they really got running in the 20s and 30s. And after that, the same kind of companies were making similar radios.
Yeah, okay.
And you could buy them, they were relatively quite cheap for the time.
Yeah. So, because a lot of the guys who probably watch this wouldn't have
No idea.
wouldn't know what a valve is.
No.
It looks like a funny looking light bulb.
Yeah, because it's basically is a light bulb.
Well, it's
with
a transistor.
with at least 3 elements in it.
Yeah. So usually light bulbs are 2, and like you see, the light basically comes from the resistance of the curve. Yeah.
Well, they're a heated cathode.
Yeah.
Electrically heated to allow the electrons to work there, whatever they do. But they were quite sophisticated. Things like I recall when FM came in. This is really dogging me now all night.
Nah, it's alright. That's
I can tell you how old you are. Almost 90.
Yeah, I'm 90 this January.
90 years young.
90 years young.
But they came along and they said, "Oh, FM will never work. It won't work."
Oh, really?
They always say that,
yeah.
though.
Oh, yeah.
Personal computers never a thing.
No one's going to have a personal
Yeah.
computer. Trains can't go faster than, just because you'll suffocate.
Mobile phones will never pick up.
No one's,
Or personal mobile phones, I think it is. Yeah.
I was gonna, so something you did too that I think was really pretty adventurous was during the 60s you went to Antarctica.
Oh, yes, I went.
Back in the days when, 1960s was
64, Year of the Quiet Sun.
What's that mean?
Well, people down there were measuring the noise effectively in communications that comes from the sun. And they had, this was the Antarctic Division, was not quite with the CSRAO, but a lot of those scientists went down, the science people. And I was lucky enough to get chosen to go as looking after their communications. Because in those days there was no satellite, and we used to teleprint stuff over the radio to places like Melbourne and that.
No.
So the messages were telexed, as it were, everything. And they were, one of the major things was the weather they had, because if you look carefully in the map where Antarctica and that is, there's not many weather stations.
Yeah.
I would imagine not.
Would you need it? It's just cold and snowy, isn't it?
Well, I spent 14 months there, and where I was, the wind blows just about every day. I think we had about 4 or 5 days windless in a year. Now, the wind averages 20 to 30k an hour.
Yeah.
Because what happens, the Antarctic is at the bottom and it gets cold and the wind comes down and it blows like hell.
Yeah.
The kind of thing, oh, it's 24 hours dark, is wrong.
Oh, yeah.
The sun doesn't set, but it goes like dusk. That's the darkest it'll be. And
so like midnight or something.
Yeah.
It would,
and in the summer, the sun doesn't dip below the horizon. It just goes above the horizon.
Yeah, I've seen photos. Because not just, isn't some high places like Canada and Sweden are also places where
very
the sun
similar.
doesn't quite set. It's dark all the time, but it's just beyond the horizon.
Yeah.
So in winter, how much
as
daylight
I
do
say,
you get?
the physical daylight probably, you don't get full sunlight, but you probably get, say, 4 or 5 hours that's not dusk light.
Yeah.
The rest it gets dusk and then it gets darker, obviously, but the rest of the day you can walk around and everything, and it's not.
Do you need artificial lighting
No.
for work?
No.
So you can still do your work outside, it's still daylight.
Outside you can do it in the middle of the day.
No.
Did you have power generation?
Yes, we had direct generation. A friend of mine came down as a diesel mech. They were very clever. They used to pinch a lot from the group that I was originally working with, a public service, civil aviation department. And we had 4 diesel generators going
all the time.
Most of the time. One of them would always be ready, quote, on standby, whereas the 3 are on. And say in the middle of the day, if I wanted to, the transmitters I had were 5 kilowatts. And if someone was doing a welding and I'm trying to transmit the thing, they had one too. But that's there. Nowadays it's different. They're probably there and they got satellites.
Yeah.
At that have internet and everything now, whereas
via the satellite. We had nothing like that.
Just simple things like heating. What did you do for heating?
diesel
So it's all diesel heating.
heater.
Okay. Do you ship that in, like all that fuel
Yes.
in often?
Everything goes down there by boat. Well,
It can only go down during the summertime, can't it?
yeah, only through the summertime because the ice pack kind of packs it in.
Yeah.
Although they're getting a little bit concerned about it.
Yeah, well, maybe not in
Yeah.
the future. The way we-
But
It'll be summer all the time.
but the food,
Oh yeah.
the all the food, they allow enough food for if the boat doesn't come now, they allow about another year and a half's worth of food and fuel.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
And you had a medical officer there.
We did. I won't mention his name, but we used to call him Jack Slack.
Okay.
He's now a registrar with an anaesthetist somewhere. But he's a good bloke. But I went down, there was 26 blokes went.
Oh yeah, that's not bad.
Out of the 26, there were probably, what's that, 1, 2, 3, 4, about 12 of the 26, or say 15 of the 26 will be support staff for scientists.
Okay.
And we had a complete weather group, and then the Clever Dicks doing all the other things. Had one bloke doing seismic measurements.
Okay.
He used to have to walk down every day, regardless of the weather and that crap, and measure
Which
his
was pretty
signals.
horrendous most of the time, I heard.
Unfortunately, that poor chap, he was a geologist, and he got snuffed together in one of the volcanoes in.
Oh.
That's a very common way. Of,
It's not New Guinea, one of the other ones up there.
And like that chain of fire sort of
Yeah.
through the.
Yeah, it was a bit of a shame, but you were hell
Oh,
was
geez,
close.
that's a bit rough.
Yeah.
So I've got another question, which is when you came back home.
Yes.
So you've been there for 14 months. Did you find it really bizarre when you suddenly, 14 months, and you'd be looking forward to coming home, I guess, but was it a bit of a culture shock coming back, or was it
There was
something?
no culture shock, because though we got news and all the other stuff, but I used to nick a lot of those days, the news radio people used to have a lot of news functions, and the nice government gave us the frequency of the news they used to send to their ships. So we knew what was going on. It was when Gorbachev, I think it was, slammed his shoe on the United Nations. That was the year, whatever year I can't
I have no
remember.
idea about that.
No,
No, it carried on like a pork chop. But
yeah.
those things, coming back, the hardest thing I had was learning to drive again. So I didn't have to drive a car for 14 months.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
So did you drive anything? Did you go anywhere, like when you were there, or did you just stay on the base?
What did you do for fun?
You want to play billiards, play records, read things.
Okay,
drink.
so it's got like entertainment rooms and stuff.
No, the whole place was an entertainment.
Okay.
No, a lot of guys, they had a gym, and these guys used to do
okay.
weightlifting and, all this thing. A couple of times I tried to go skiing, but it was a bit too dangerous
Miserable,
for me.
yeah.
Blow you away.
But we used to have occasionally the OIC organised trips, and we went out to a place called Rum Doodle, which was like an outpost, as it were, just to get you out of the thing.
Just somewhere to go.
A lot of consuming of alcohol.
That makes sense, yeah. It's a good way to keep warm, isn't it?
Well, nominally, no, it doesn't. Alcohol makes you cold.
Yeah, it's
It's
not
not
the best
good
way to
for
stay alive.
We were allowed 6 small cans of Foster's a week. But this is Dr. Phil Law, who was the head of the Antarctic Division. He allowed us to have wine on the table
Okay.
at meal times.
Ah,
And then the guys used to make their own booze.
Oh.
anything that brewed. I mean,
You
like
can, what do they call it?
home brew.
The home brew, your bag brew or something. You put fruit or stuff
Well,
in the bag. And
one of the ones that were favourites was blackberries and raspberries. They really fizz pretty good, but they used to nick the yeast from the bakery people and the cooks. Yeah.
Was it mentally tough? Like you're stuck with 26 guys. Did you find it like? Well, at some point in time, you must
hate someone.
Yeah, how did you get on? Like, was it mentally challenging in that way?
Well, the thing before you go, they really. I can remember having 3 days of psychological crap.
Yeah.
Like what colour's your granny's undies and all this thing. Oh. Well, they really screw you down there, but it's generally. My year was pretty good. The year before, 63, they had a chap die with an aneurysm.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Which doesn't go down too healthy.
There's not much you can do about it.
He's still buried down there on the end of the arm.
Right.
But, there's small things, that... so I'd say that table tennis and billiards was probably the thing.
Saving factor?
Eh?
Saving grace, like that was your mental...
Not really, it was... and pictures, movies.
Oh, okay.
We had a few movies. Probably once a week we had movies. And then occasionally, like say the midwinter, the mid-year is a big, it's halfway. It's June, so they have a big splosh and a thing, and it's pretty good. Interesting. But the thing is, there was in the year that I was there was no real animosity.
That's good.
Between them, and blokes do funny things. Like we had a bloke, he put black sauce on everything except ice cream.
Black sauce?
Yeah, Worcester sauce.
Oh, Worcestershire, yeah.
Oh.
Jeez.
Yeah.
He was an electrician.
There you go.
And we have some funny blokes, a couple of blokes who were really wits. A quote, like this bloke, they said to him, do you want a drink? Here's a glass of water. He said, I'm thirsty, not dirty. Kind of thing. And there's, we could hear people once a week, they used to broadcast to the Antarctic by the ABC. Marion went in a couple of times. But
so they sent a signal, like...
Well, it was a chat.
Right.
And they talked, but the couple of blokes, or one chap had a ham licence and he'd talk occasionally to people, but where that is, radio communication was difficult.
Yeah, I guess
so there's more,
because
more
they got
now hates the hash noise.
Yeah.
But no, overall, as I said, unfortunately now out of the 26, I think there's only about 8, 9 of us left.
That was a while ago.
Yeah.
So you're all about the same age when...
Yeah, and there's a couple of very clever blokes. There's a bloke called Dr. Bill Budd. He was the man who was involved when they did the hole in the ozone layer.
Oh, yeah.
And I have still a friend, and he works for CSIRO. He's some kind of scientist now. But all those blokes, and the boss... all those people.
So it's pretty good. A pretty good experience then. Yeah.
Well, I put in about 4 times to get there.
Okay, right. Yeah.
Why is because where I was working at the time on aerodromes and civil aviation, a couple of the chaps had already been.
Yeah, right.
But they went to what's the island? Heard Island, and which no one goes to now, and Macquarie Island.
Right.
And a couple of them have done 3 tours.
Okay.
Been there. Quite a few of the guys repeat a lot.
Would you have gone back, or were you offered to go back?
I would have gone back, but when I was working for civil aviation, I went to other places, so next year didn't count. I didn't need to go at this stage where I was physically working. Was in, I was happy with there rather than to go.
Yeah. So Well, so that's a bit of an adventure, and I'm always, especially during that era, it must have been pretty amazing. I reckon it's pretty cool.
The thing was
That's pretty
that
cool.
the Americans started out Wilkes at base, which is now still going. And when you look at, say, Morecambe Road, it looks like motels, whereas we lived in looked like cooler huts.
Okay.
Oh, dongers.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, that's like I used to work in.
Oh, bloody terrible place.
What? Okay, so I don't know how long we've got to go, but I was going to ask.
How long you want?
What do you reckon? So you've seen like a fairly big chunk of life now.
Yes.
What do you reckon? Do you think we are better off morally? Because people always say, "Oh, the bad," always look back at the old days. Do you think we are morally better now as a society, or do you think we've become more corrupt as a society?
I feel, I don't know, I think it's more corrupt, but is it disguised? Like, this corruption may have been there, but nowadays with the instantaneous communications and things like that, like Facebook and Instagram and those, people may have got away. Like, you can't tell whether they were duds or not. But they've got. But various things they just say, "Oh no, not me." So, and I think
so. It's exposed more. You reckon?
Like, say, I shouldn't do it. It's politics, but Robodebt, I feel that was just sheer bullshit politics, and they never admitted it, and they still don't.
There's a reason why they lost the case, though, because it was they
wrong.
based it on it was wrong.
Yeah, no doubt.
The thing is, though, in your age, if that thing happened, there's no way people
wouldn't have come up.
Yeah,
no one would know. It would just be bad luck.
Well, the Department of Civil Aviation was going to just happen because during the war there was the Department of Air, right? Right? That was military. So then there was civil aviation, and in my time there was a big investigation. One of the chaps, very senior kind of Director General part of it, and he found that there was no legal enforcement. In other words, there was nothing ever passed in Parliament for civil aviation to appear.
Oh,
okay,
right.
So
it was founded on a bloke's good idea.
Rocked up one day for something.
But not written down somewhere.
Nowhere would it have been passed through Parliament or anything like that. And this was things like, they started another airline, TAA. They started that, and then ANA was still going and spewing about this. But anyway, all that kind of fizzled out. But it's now Air Services Australia, legalised everything's.
All the dots.
So the dots are crossed and ticked. But it's interesting that you say that because people always it's probably a lot it's now more exposed.
But it was non-legal, and nobody ever looked back at it until probably. Well, I was working in Melbourne, so it'd be 1970.
Would you say we're more organised as a society now than back then? Because it sounds like there was some things that were just unorganised, or let's set up a civil aviation.
No, well, that was kind of the people were in the Department of Air.
Okay.
Right. So they then kind of split it. Department of Air was legal, but they decided that was military, that was civil.
Okay.
And that's how that happened, but it was probably not looked at into the legalities of
just like
time.
Working amongst themselves type of thing.
Well, at the top end, the politicians decide, as I was talking, probably, Chifley and Curtin and then Menzies in that kind of era of politician. But those things happen. I don't think I think it's not really more organised, it's probably more disorganised. Mainly because a lot of people just, in those days, accepted what was said.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas nowadays you've got the things like
Yep.
internet, you can check these things, you know.
Yeah,
The
people
fringe
make,
dwellers sort of things, so the flat earthers and things start to
well,
find
they
each
have,
other.
well, the flat earth people come up, because I actually knew a bloke who was a flat earther. He's a funny man.
Yeah, I bet he
Would
was.
have to be.
Oh no, he did things like, this fellow, he was actually a cleaner. Unfortunately, he was also an alcoholic, but that's all separate.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But he'd do things and he'd say, the man in the moon told me. He stopped He stopped one day in the middle of Swanson and Flinders Street, and it took 10 cops to get him off the bloody middle of the road because he died. You know, man in the moon told him to stand there.
So he just stood. That sounds like a mental illness.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he probably was.
I think that's like a mental illness. Yeah.
But he wasn't an idiot. He came to work one day and we were talking at morning tea, and they were talking about the rifle shooting thing that they used to have here.
Yeah.
You know, like people all doing the rifle. Oh, he said, I won a King's Prize for the shooting, and everyone went, oh yeah. Crap. 3 days later he come and he had the medal. Brought the medal.
Okay.
So
he
wasn't an idiot, it was just...
He was mental. That's the difference.
He
That's
had
like
a problem.
that joke about the guys breaking down outside the mental asylum.
Yeah, but the thing in those times, and I'm talking about up to into the 60s and early 70s, you know, people were put away for being mental.
Which is an interesting thing. Like, do you reckon, like we talked the other day about we're talking about mental health or men's mental health. So, like through that period of time, did you see or like what? I mean, you wouldn't have seen, I guess, the same problems that we sort of try and prevent now. I don't know.
Well, the problems were there, but people, it was all treated differently.
Yeah.
Extremely differently, you know. Quite often you'd find someone that really have a mental problem, they'd lock them up.
Yeah.
You know, people that really, you know, that were odd or different, they were treated differently.
Yeah.
You know, like, say, kids at school, you know, those kids who were odd or different would get bullied.
Yep.
Always, you know. And when they grew up, they might be different, but when you think the number of asylums that we had, and they had people there, because nowadays people seem to, you see them down the street with profound disabilities, they're not locked up. The people are wheeling them around and looking after them.
Yeah, the infrastructure's put in there
that will help them.
And I think we see, like I know just from when I was at work, there was ever any talk about health and safety and these sort of things wasn't even on the radar. Like, you know, if you fell off a building, then it's your fault.
Bad luck.
Yeah.
You fall off a building.
Yeah, and the same with mental health. Like I grew up not even, and it wasn't until I had my own bloody issues later on that you were not that aware, like mental health and just health in general. Really,
because it wasn't talked about, was it? Mental health.
Well, you get the thing, say, from after the First World War.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you'd get blokes that say, oh, he's got shell shock.
Yeah.
Well, it was probably PTSD.
Well,
Yeah.
almost definitely
But
was.
wasn't ever thought of
Yeah.
like that. Oh, he had shell shock, you know, and he's a nutter. You know? And I'm like,
So what, like when someone said, oh, they got shell shock, but they just assume that they can't be
the
helped?
bloke, whatever the bloke or person was doing, was due to this shell shock syndrome,
which is reacting as you do see people with
people with
post-traumatic stress,
PTSD, you know, in a thing. But that's only even today. You know, PTSD, even after the Second World War, was still nothing on the horizon. It wasn't men's health as such. It was oh, he's a man.
Yeah.
Bear it. Take
Yeah.
it. You know,
This is
you
what we were
should-
talking about the other day as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
So-
come along that blokes do, you know, like, oh, don't men no cry, you know, all that crap from a little kid up.
Yeah.
And,
It
but
kind
now,
of ingrains into
yeah,
culture and society.
you're a man, not a girl, you know.
Yeah.
Uh,
Run like a man.
Yeah, you hit like a girl. Yeah, that sort of thing.
But those things,
Yeah.
like, well, maybe health in general, because of the advancement in, like, my mum died when I was 14 of a cancer. She may have, today, I don't think she would have died,
Yeah.
because that's the advance in
Of technology,
technology.
medical.
Yeah,
Certainly medical has changed a lot.
unbelievable.
Yeah, and you know, humans tend to live longer as well now.
Yeah.
We tend to, yeah.
Look at me.
There you go. There's an example.
Yeah. Still another 90 years, I'm sure.
Yeah, you know, yeah.
No, I've got the rusty old car zero.
Yeah. Oh, anyway.
Falling to bits.
Yeah.
No, but that's all those things like men and women's. See, my era, my mum, no one worked. Ladies didn't work.
Okay.
If they were unmarried, they had a job. Things like the teaching profession.
Yeah.
If the lady got married, she got fired.
Oh, fair dinkum.
Yeah, they couldn't have married women in the public service. Gone. You know, those.
By law or just by those employees?
Yeah,
decide?
it was or policy, probably.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah.
And see, the war came, and then men were missing, so women started.
Doing the work.
Yeah.
Which set up a very interesting sort of movement of feminism and women's.
They're still behind. They'll never
Oh,
catch
yeah.
up.
We certainly
Well,
are.
I here's my optimism coming through again, but I do think eventually, you know, human societies will catch up and be balanced. Maybe not in my lifetime.
It'll take a while, but I do think that more has happened in my lifetime that I could see. Like, sure,
Yeah.
as Dad has just said, we've seen. You know, you wouldn't dare see a woman being sacked because she got married.
Yeah.
Now,
Now-
not.
Now married women kind of have to work these days. To
Yeah,
But that's a
yeah.
different.
Well, that's right. That's
It's another issue altogether, but
Well, my own thought on it is, I feel that if you have a look at the thousands of year generation of keeping women down, in a sense, not all,
yeah.
it's going to take a long time.
That's a really good
forever.
point.
Yeah, it's almost like we can't really justify what has been happening.
No,
I think this is why sometimes we have to push the balance a little bit the other way. Like, I used to be quite critical of.
Has to be actually fair.
Yeah, but I used to say it had to be fair. Like, so, like people having quotas. So, for top executive jobs, you must have. You got a group of 6. You must have 3 women.
no.
Now, I never liked that because I'd like 6 of the best people. whether
Yeah,
they were
I
women or
agree
men.
with you
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah.
But I think they've done that deliberately to tip the scale the other way a little bit to try and push this agenda.
Yeah, it
But
does help. The thing I have with that though is like you don't see it like garbage men have to get a quota of female workers,
That's good. Yeah, that's right.
but it's only like high paying, you know,
yeah.
reward jobs basically, like work
That's
basically
an
just
interesting
yeah.
point. I mean, there's nothing wrong with garbage collecting.
No,
But
there is.
to be
and
honest-
I'm sure there is women that do.
There
it.
are, and we see that now more than ever.
Like women
There's-
tradies.
Yeah, you do. You see a lot of women tradies now, and
Yeah, well, they can do it.
absolutely, and often better than some of the guys. So it's
Yeah.
not a gender thing. I think we're moving into that bit of an era, but you're right. I think it's a long time.
Yeah, a long time. I do think it is a good idea to consider, hey, we should have a quota of females within an industry. Just as a point of like, otherwise, why would we hire a female? The guys have
Well,
already.
it has to work. It should work the other way too, though. I guess to
Yeah.
make it work. Like you should
Like
have maybe
teachers being men.
quota. Yeah,
Well, the thing that I think is that women, okay, they think differently to men in a true sense.
Yeah.
But if they're physically able, they can do the same job as men.
Yeah.
Now, my mum had a thing which it used to tickle me and get me into trouble. She said, because I believe that my mum was probably a feminist in an earlier sense. Women can do everything a man can do except pee over a fence.
Modern technology, I'm sure there's opportunities for
I'm trying to think of ways that could happen now, like a handstand. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure there's devices women can buy that allow them to pee like me.
Yeah,
Pretty
technology.
Sure
Yeah,
technology.
Yeah.
But see, they used to women like in that era and just after the war, women were you got like if a woman had a job, you know, oh the bloke's not looking after you, you know, kind of thing.
It's that cultural.
But it's that culture.
Yeah.
You know, and they really did, you know, like you go to a party, women over here and the men over here.
Yeah. Like I remember seeing like little tidbits in like old movies and that, but like I don't think I can. This is what we'll talk about earlier. It's like it's actually almost impossible for me to imagine
it's like a story in a book somewhere.
Culture like that thing, just because
No,
I'm
you
so
can't,
distant
because,
from it these days.
Of the time, that was the culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was normal. It would
Yes.
be abnormal to, you know, have a stay-at-home dad and a working mum.
Yeah. Impossible.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
anything else we want to add or talk about?
no, that was a pretty good run round.
I know.
geez, we just covered a few topics there, didn't we?
I knew we would, but like I'm just glad to have you here and nice conversation with you.
Well, I come from a different era.
I know,
Yeah.
and I enjoy that.
Well, that's
conversation
like
too.
that's the
It's
thing I
very
enjoy
different.
talking to Dad about, just because like all this experience and stuff I don't have yet to experience or yet to see.
It
But
doesn't happen, mate. It's not going to happen. A lot of the things. Quote, hey, smoking. Smoking a fag used to be a big deal. You know, you're smoking a fag. Hey, not that they killed it. They didn't find that out for quite some time.
Well, it's
Yeah.
hidden. But anyway,
well,
yeah.
they.
But you're right.
It was a culture.
It's a different culture. The world is moving on, and our next generation will probably be.
Well, what they think or what they do, or probably
Wait and
won't
see.
be here to see.
Well, yeah, I'd still like to imagine, just because I like to see, you know, what humanity can do at a point.
Oh, I think we've done a lot. Like when you look at how far we've come.
Yeah.
I think we'll go. I think we are.
It's totally different. Like Marion and I were talking in the car the other day, and I'm saying, you know, back when I was there, they never gave any thought to the limitations of resources.
No, of course.
Yeah.
Here, right? They go to Africa. Oh, we go to shoot elephants.
Yeah.
Oh, tigers. You know.
Yep. Oil.
Oh, we cut all. Oh, dear, I need a plant there. I'll cut all those trees down.
Yeah.
You know, that never entered those people's head. Well, there may be some, but most.
You're
didn't.
right. Most didn't, but there were a few, but very few.
Do you think that's because there wasn't enough history for them to understand where they were going?
Perhaps they weren't looking forward enough to
Yeah.
think that this is
They
a finite
weren't
resource.
probably not looking forward at all.
Because, like, I find these days when we do, you know, cut down trees or use resources, these are always things in our mind. Is that just because our culture is more aware that, you know, like, because globalism happened, we communicate with everyone, we know, have a good understanding of what's happening within the world, climate-wise and others.
It's
that-
certainly more. It's quicker now. Like before, people did communicate. Now, you know, I don't know. I don't.
Well, you think when the first kind of settlers come here, there, they used to get news from England when the ship came. 6 months.
6 months? Is
Yeah.
that- okay, yeah. I heard there was a lot of ships that like just didn't make it here either.
Yeah, there
But-
was shipwrecking.
England was like just
That was the mother country.
putting ships everywhere, like just get these people off my rock type of thing.
Well, that was a separate kind of thing that came about. They had so many people in prison
Yeah.
for various, you know, minuscule things but they needed somewhere to send them. And when the Americans decided not to be part of the deal, they sent them out here.
Yeah.
Now you think that, all right, hey, the telegraph there was a single wire line all the way from wherever it was to Darwin and then over to Indonesia somewhere, and it was all done by Morse code.
Yeah.
And the thing was, people used to get the ships arriving, you know, and say the age was on the front page. These ships arrived today. You know,
Okay.
and then things like newspapers from England. You know, you'd be looking at newspapers probably a year old.
Yeah, you would.
You know, and then gradually you'll find that, say, press and things like that have got communication has become quicker, faster, and more of it.
Faster than the media.
It's a really big aspect to us as a species as well. I think communication, like every step of humans' evolvement and that, it's always been added by increase of communication.
That could be an interesting topic.
Yeah.
Communication.
Yeah.
Development of communication.
Because it does seem to have a linking, like, the more modern we get, the faster our communication is.
Yeah.
Used to be by boats, then by telegrams, then...
Now it's instant.
Well, yeah.
Well, I can remember telegrams arriving, say, when I got married.
Yeah, right.
Telegrams. Now, those in general, before telex and things like that, that was all hand Morse. And the bloke used to sit there typing the telegram coming in on the sounder.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's not that long ago. That's only 1950.
Yeah, no, that's
50 odd, 70 years ago.
Yeah, I can't imagine
No.
that type of technology being that close to us.
Well, you think about even in my time, I remember there was no computers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember mobile phones coming into being those big black ones.
Yeah, that's right.
Because I remember you guys have some. Yeah.
Big as a brick.
Yeah.
Beam me up, Scotty.
Yeah. And now these days they're like, oh, well, this is more powerful than a phone back then.
Like my granddaughter Bill has got a wristwatch, an Apple wristwatch.
Yeah.
It's got more grunt.
Yeah. It just keeps.
And when I went back to school to do various things, at the Caulfield Tech, or be the year the bloody bridge fell down. I used to do computer with punch cards.
Oh, that's going. Yeah.
Punch cards.
A bit way
and
back.
I'd get 3 runs. I'd get the first one I'd go in the morning, and then I'd get one at morning tea when I adjusted it, and one at lunchtime. So I'd get 3 runs on a computer.
How big was this computer? It would have been
It was probably 4 classrooms.
Okay, yeah.
That's how big it was.
And now it's basically the size of that.
On my watch.
Yeah.
Once again, as I say, that's the shrinking of things with transistors.
Yeah.
And things. That's
transistors.
Unreal.
Yeah. I'm curious to see what quantum computing will ever get to do.
Yeah.
If they ever get lots around.
Well, yeah, there's a thing like reality that keeps getting in their way, but we've broken reality before. So
well, it's like they always said, atomics will make the world free for electricity.
Well,
it kind of did.
Yeah, except they kind of just gave that energy away in a big explosion, as opposed to slowly over time to power like fridges and stuff.
No.
That's also probably another topic.
There's many topics.
We could get bogged down forever.
Thank you for having this conversation with us.
I enjoyed the chat.
Yeah, I know.
It's been nice.
I always enjoy a chat.
Well, next time you're up, let us know and we'll try and do another one.
Right.
Yeah, we can go down that rabbit hole of.
We could also go and
energy.
visit at some point too.
Oh yeah, we could.
Yeah.
We're going over in October, November.
Oh yeah, I think I'll be there for that too. Yeah.
I'll catch up.
What's in October?
Braden's
Pyro's running. Yeah. AG Pyro is chatting. Yeah, he's doing a full marathon this time.
Oh.
I think he did a half marathon last year.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
If I think about marathon, that's about as far as I get.
Yeah, Thanks
I'm
again.
almost like that, yeah.
Alright.
Yeah. Oh,
All good.
one chat member asked, "What's your favourite decade?"
Mine,
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question.
probably the 50s to the 60s when football was football and not all what they kept changing the rules.
Football changed its rules.
VFL.
Yeah, they changed its rules.
The rules have changed from the time I
So
started
1950s,
playing
you
for-
reckon?
Yeah, the 50s to the 60s.
Music was pretty good too.
Yeah,
That era.
Yeah.
we had all the thing,
Yeah.
you know, the bands and all
Yeah,
that.
that's some pretty big bands started out in rock and
Yeah, I'm not a
blues.
fan with modern music these days, but that's another
topic.
Yeah, ladder behind chores we don't like.
Yes.
Yes.
Put it
All right.
together. Cheers.
Thanks all for watching, and see you next week. Not with Grandpa Noob, but
I'm going
Most
home.
Last one, I'm going on holidays after that.
yes, and then I don't know. I might
You might
get
go
someone
on a
else
holiday
on.
too.
I
Yeah,
could go on a
there you
holiday. All right.
Alright.
All right.
Cheers.
Thanks, Jared. That was an interesting. I don't know how long.
Almost an hour. 51 minutes it was.
Really?
Yeah.
They always go about an hour.
Yeah. I hope people were actually listening. Or were
But they
listening.
were listening. We had like 4 viewers for the most part. Nah, that's pretty average for me. It depends on some topics too.
Oh,
When we
some
did
do,
the
we do.
man health stuff, we had
Do you know-
more people willing to pop in.
We get also, but Jared puts them online, so
Yeah.
tend
The
to-
funniest thing, my wife was distraught. She goes walking down a particular park, and this park's got a kind of little creek at the end,
Yeah.
and there are a group of young guys, or youths, with bicycles decided to make a
A jump.
jumps, and
Okay.
they dug bloody great holes in the creek and planks, and then she go down, you know, bloody cans and bloody all this shit. Anyway, she had a couple of whinges to the shore, nothing happened, and then someone must have really went down and had a look.
Okay.
So about within the last month, the shore come, flattened the whole bloody lot.
Oh.
All the stuff taken away, fucking signs jabbed in the ground. Don't do this, blah blah. In 2 places, you know, they really bugger things up.
Yeah.
Anyway, the mums and dads, they jumped up and down. Oh, these kids have got nowhere to play.
Yeah.
You know, oh, the bike park's too far away, you know, blah, blah. And they were going to the council.
Oh yeah, this is where you said Mum watched the council.
And so my wife hates politics,
Yeah.
logs on, our local council has a live meeting once a month. Can you imagine?
Yeah. I
6:30 to 9.
How joyful that would be.
Oh, yeah.
Bloody council meeting.
Oh,
Fair dinkum.
God.
Alright, what are you going to do now, Jared?
I'm probably going to end stream. I'm going to say goodbye to chat before that happens.
Yeah,
and
right.
then I'll do my normal games. You need a hand up, Grandpa?
Should be
Yeah.
careful that wall, that chair. That's a good one, mate. Better than the couch. Alright, all good.
No, I'm being wobbly. I don't know why with me balance is not.
Yeah, well.
It's not a good chair, to be honest.
Thanks, Jay.
No problem, thanks. I'll edit that and put that up tomorrow, so if you want to listen back.
Yeah, will.
Alright, love you. I'll pop out in a sec. Oh, how was that, everyone?